Hey everyone, Kia ora. I'm Smarty, and I'm going to just sort of be looking at the patch notes for the most recent Duelyst patch. It went up in March 2nd. The patch isn't out yet as I'm talking about them. The patch notes have been live for minutes at best, and I just want to talk about the changes, what I think of them, and just generally get my ideas out there because it's fun. I like having people listen to my opinions and then tell me I'm wrong or tell me I'm right. Mostly they tell me I'm right, which is good. And this one's going to be slightly, I don't know, more negative, more complainy than some of the previous ones. But mostly, I think these changes are cool. It's just there are some real stinkers that bring me down, and especially it's sort of a question of direction for the game and what I struggle with. And you'll be able to see why there's a specific sort of genre of change if you've been playing Duelist for the last year or so that you will recognize and be possibly wary of. But we'll see. So, yep, Wave 2 isn't out yet. Won't be coming out. Patch live soon. Great stuff. Some new features. So the maximum deck size for ranked matches has been reduced to 40 cards. Previously, this was changed a couple of months ago to be between 40 and 55 was the deck size, and that is being reverted. This was mostly because, basically, if you wanted to play a slow deck, and someone else was playing a 55 card slow deck, they had an enormous advantage because they just had more resources than you. And so even if you didn't actually hit fatigue against those people, you would still be at a huge, it would just be problematic because you would have to be the one to be aggressing it towards them. And that sort of naturally pushed a lot of decks to be towards 55 cards so they could beat the decks that were slightly slower than them going to 55 cards, and generally made life difficult. I don't think it was a massive power level concern, although I don't have the stats, so I might be wrong on that. But this way, you can play a slow deck that's 40 cards and still feel like you're not hamstringing yourself in some matchups. Uh, Reminder, as a general rule, less cards is better, makes you more consistent. But if you don't care about consistency because all of your deck is like roughly a flat power level, then you can just play more cards and you don't really get priced out of it. In friendly matches, players can now set a maximum deck size between 40 and 100. So, I mean, this is what it says on the tin. I'm looking forward to 100 card Fatigue Magmar mirrors. I'm hoping to televise one sometime soon with Kelvin if I can nail that down once the patch comes out. But that should be fun. The 100 card decks should be a fun thing to do in friendlies. And you can also, in friendly matches, ban cards from decks, which is cool. I don't know, you could do this by just talking to people if you wanted to, but now there's a formal system for it, so hey, that's pretty cool, I guess. In a future update, players will be able to import or export rule sets. Seems reasonable. Battle ribbons can now be marked as visible or hidden on the profile screen. Hidden ribbons won't appear when a match starts. This has been a desired change by some people who've wanted, to hide their shame of having a magma ribbon. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I don't mind. I'm thinking it might be funny to hide all my non-tournament ribbons. But yeah, cool thing. Doesn't matter for a lot of people, but really helps out some. New game mode. The Frostfire Festival is over, but a new unranked mode will replace it, the Amazing Race. So this is a fan-made mode, where instead of trying to kill the opposing general by damage, which you still can do, but another way to win is, of course, touch all four corners of the map with your general, which is pretty cool. I remember watching the original tournament, and it was really interesting. There's been some hubbub about the rule set and the way the game enforces it. As I understand it, if you start your turn in a corner, the game will just kill you if you don't move out of it. I checked. I asked the devs. Beam Shock does not just kill people. There still might be some issues with Provoke killing people. So we'll see how that goes. But interested to see where we end up. Seems like fun. We can't challenge people to friendlies in it yet, but hopefully that functionality will be added in a future update. Bug fixes. Echo Mage bug has been fixed. I've talked about this before in my Heal Satan deck tech. It's really great, but it's been fixed now. It works, allegedly. I mean, again, I haven't tested it, but if they're correct, bug fix, great stuff. Now you can... This, like, strongly increases the playability of Echo Mage, I think. It's really nice to be able to backline it and then move away, and then have it move in next turn to cast another spell. That's a pretty common play pattern that you'll use to play around stuff like Mecantor or whatever. And, yeah, just great change. Glad we fixed it. Sojourner was only giving minions due to a bug. Now it can generate non-token, non-general cards. That's pretty cool. Makes it better in Bug Vet, except for the part where, of course, it is no longer legal in Bug Vet, because it is not a bug, and it is not bugged anymore. So, waving goodbye to Sojourner and Bug Vet. It's sad. It was nice having it, because sometimes it would generate good cards, but Greener Pastures, Sojourner, and maybe people will find some other bug with you and we can try you again. So, card changes. And a lot of the card changes here are going to be reverts to previous states in Duelyst II, or occasionally Duelyst I. So, keep that in mind. The game has changed since a lot of these changes were made, and I think some of them are good. But, let's have a look at each one individually, I guess. And you can hear my specific thoughts. So, Sundrop Elixir now heals 5 rather than 4. I think this change is good, in tandem with the Sunriser change, which is now a 4-mana 3/4 heal unit for 2. Sorry, when a unit is healed, deal 2 damage to nearby enemies. I think this is good, because Sunriser has been gaining a lot of power because of Isby's Monument, as seen in Heal Satan. And it's nice to take a little bit of power out of Sunriser, not a massive amount. I think Sunriser will still be great in that deck, and put it back into Sundrop Elixir, so, hey, Lionar's really good at healing. This is questionable, on, like, the sense of 1-mana heal 5 is, like, extremely efficient against burn decks, so if Lionar is good, it will keep them out of the game pretty, intensely, and that might be not ideal, but overall, I'm happy with this change. A little worried about what can happen because of it, but, pretty chill. Divine Bond is a change I am unhappy with. So before, 2 mana, set a minion's attack equal to its health. After, give a minion plus attack equal to its health, and it costs 3 mana. So, yeah, they made this change because if your opponent played an Ironcliff Guardian on turn 5, and you could not kill it, an Ironcliff Guardian can be difficult to kill because it is a 3/10. They could, next turn, if you did not damage it, they could play Divine Bond twice and kill you. And if you did damage it, they could heal it back up with Holy Immolation while killing all your stuff. So, kind of put you in these no-win scenarios where if you didn't kill the Ironcliff Guardian, you just lost. And now, we're there again. I agree that Divine Bond was basically unplayable before this rework, like, after it got nerfed and until now. But, like, you could just give it a different effect if you wanted to, rather than reverting it to this thing which was clearly toxic, and the devs understood to be toxic because it got changed. Just, yeah. Baffling to me. Honestly baffling. They're like, well, we're doing reverts, let's do this one, I guess. But, like, there was really, really strong reasons for this not to work. We know why. Echo Mage, actually, is another strong Bond target. Gets to 16 attack because it copies the Divine Bond. Just, like, respectfully, what the fuck were they thinking? It won't necessarily be strong. I don't think Divine Bond was particularly good before then, but it definitely wasn't, like, healthy or good for the game. It didn't make the game more interesting. It just meant that sometimes you lost because you failed a stat check. And I think it's cringe. Yeah. Sunriser change, talked about it before. 4/4 to 3/4. Still does the same thing. Still good in heal decks, less good outside of them, although you weren't really playing it outside of those anyway. Um, the sun drop buff, because there's sort of a package. If you're playing Sunrise, you're probably playing Sundrop. Means that you aren't going to be too sad about this. The power level hasn't changed too much. But yeah, you know, stuff happened. This notably is a change back to Duelyst 1, where Sunriser was a 3-4. I think it started Duelyst 2 as a 3-5, and then got nerfed to 4-4, and then down to here. Tuskbore loses the ping to the general when it returns to your hand. I think this is silly. So, basically, with Tuskbore and Harmon Bladeseeker, who's also popping up in a second, but I like the Harmon change, Tuskbore sort of set out this like identity of like a little bit of self-damage for Songhai, you know? We hurt each other, we get really powerful cards. And Tuskbore is an obscene card. Even with the ping, it was like probably one of the best cards in the game. It just eats 2 drops. It's an incredible early game power play. It can be inner focus, so it's like an incredible burst as well, like just sort of Phoenix Fire plus plus plus. And now it's better. The reason for this change is roughly because it's a revert, and they're doing reverts because yeah, they're doing reverts. Let's think about that one for a second. It would have been nice if there had been some sort of thought behind it, but hey, reverts, here we are. And it didn't go in artifact Songhai decks because the ping breaks the artifact. I think it's kind of cool if there are trade-offs for your cards, and maybe you don't get to play the best fucking card in the game if you want to play a specific archetype. Like, maybe that'd be cool, but clearly the devs disagree. So Tuskbore is now even better, and we won't get the cool Tuskbore lethals where sometimes you killed your opponent by letting them their Tuskbore bounce. I think this is a meaningful buff to Songhai, who has been kind of weak recently, but I don't know if this is how I would go about it. So, you know, your mileage may vary. This is another revert that I am baffled by. Pando, before, 0 mana 0 1. Now, 0 mana 0 2. This is the token generated by Onyx Bear Seal. So, the card that makes it gives this minion to your opponent. So, it having higher stats is worse for Songhai. So, Onyx Bear Seal, a card which was played in the Artifact decks and nowhere else, and isn't particularly fantastic, respectfully. 3 mana killer thing, but they get a pretty annoying body that you do have to kill, is now slightly worse. This is a revert to a change they made. And again, if you asked me why, I could not give you a meaningful answer, other than because they felt like it. Yeah. But, hey, next we get a change I like. This is another revert, but it's a cool one. Harmon Bladeseeker. Before, at the start of your turn, deal 1 damage to your general, and now it deals 2 again. So this is another revert. They changed it a wee while into Duelyst 1. But, Duelyst 2. And now Harmon Bladeseeker hits you harder. Harmon Bladeseeker wasn't very good. It was, like, fine. And I think it'll still be kind of fine. But, I think this is cool because it is giving the card a more sort of clear identity, right? It's like, yeah, it pings you, because it's a 5 mana 8/8. It's good if it has a downside, and minimizing the downside was a weird way to make the card playable, rather than just, you know, maximize the upside, I guess. So yeah, cool change. Big fan. Good stuff. Osirex. So this change is not a revert. This is a whole new card, kind of. Before, it was a 7 mana 8/6 with Blast, and your general deals double damage. Now it has 7 mana 9/8, which is a pretty big stat line, with your general deals double damage, and your general takes no damage on your turn. So, they grabbed Iris Barrier from Duelyst 1, and slapped it on. This is pretty good, I think. I don't think Osirex is playable, but I think it's probably better. There's some funkiness. It's harder to backline, right? But it's more resilient, because it's a 9/8. Doesn't have Blast, but keeping your general safe means that you can like play it and then hit something for 4 on that turn, which is pretty neat. You slap it down, you get some immediate impact, and you don't get punched back, which was a previous issue with, sort of using your face as a clearing tool is, if you have to use your face to help finish off an Archon Spellbinder, you're taking, 8 damage? That's not great. 7 damage? Can't remember what Archon stats are. Spoiler alert, we'll find out. I think this is a cool change. I quite like it. But it's probably not going to make the card actually any good. But still, I think it's slightly easier to slot into decks because it keeps you alive while you're using the buff. Night Sorrow Assassin! Oh boy. This is another Smarty Doomer moment. Before, 4 mana 3/2, opening Gambit, destroy a nearby damaged minion. After, 4 mana 3/1, opening Gambit, destroy a nearby minion with 3 or less attack. So this is what we had at the start of Duelyst II, I believe. Just, killer thing. And there was a reason this changed, actually, that they wrote about in the patch notes, and it seemed like a pretty good reasoning for it to change. It started off as a 3/3 with the text that it killed damaged minions, and then they nerfed that. I mean, that's neither here nor there. But now, it's back to this kind of toxic thing where, against some decks, Night Sorrow Assassin is fine. You use it, you kill their 2-drop, you get a minion, it's a 3/1, it takes up a little bit of space, and it's like a totally fine timber play. Maybe, you high roll, you kill a Silverguard Knight. That's pretty sweet. And against some decks, Night Sorrow kills Ironcliff Guardian. Or Bone Reaper. Or Pandora. Although Pandora not particularly playable in this current moment. And so, instead of being a card which is useful against big minions, which most decks play, it is useful against a very specific subset of minions that not all decks play. So sometimes your deck is just better or worse based on matchup, rather than having this cool sort of general card that made for interesting gameplay. It synergizes with Abyssian Swarm things, because, hey, if you have a bunch of Wraithlings, rather than sending 5 of them into that, Silverguard, you'd send 1 in, and then blow it up. Instead of having to feed 10 to an Ironcliff, you would feed 1 and then blow it up. Or Archon, more commonly, because Abyssian was really bad at dealing with Archon. Even with Night Sorrow Assassin, it wasn't very efficient, because often Archons would be sort of backlined against you, and you need to find a ping for it, and then Night Sorrow it. And now, the correct answer to an opponent playing a big minion against Abyssian is Lure it and hope it goes away forever, which, works, for a while. And Dark Terminus it, which people were playing even with this Night Sorrow Assassin, but generally not at, more than 1 or 2 copies, because it's not a very good card. 4 mana killer thing, get a 1/1, is just quite slow. And so it's frustrating that they basically put Abyssian back on that crutch, being like, yep, actually this is how you do it. You're a late game faction with bad removal. So yeah, this is probably my least favorite change in the whole patch. Oh, Divine Bond's up there. It's bad. Yeah. I'm just, the people in charge of this should go back and read the patch notes for the patch where they changed Night Sorrow Assassin and do some thinking about it, because it was a huge issue that you just could not play Ironcliff against Abyssian, or you would lose sometimes, most of the time. That's sad. So yeah. Not great. Hatchling. So this is the card from Progenitor, which is a 4 mana 3/5 opening gambit, summon 2 hatchling eggs nearby your general. And the hatchling eggs will hatch into hatchlings, which are now 2/1s with Frenzy. I think that's not super relevant. The hatchlings are really slow, because you play Progenitor, you get the eggs. If the eggs live to the end of your turn, they will hatch into hatchlings, which are summoning sick. They are exhausted, sorry, until your next turn. So you're looking, your opponent has so much time to set up for this, and most likely the eggs are going down anyway. So I think that this is basically flavor text. Progenitor, I think, was on the edge of playability, and this changes absolutely nothing about that. The next thing probably changes more about that. As you see, Twin Fang. Now 3 mana gives +2/+0, rather than 1 mana gives +1/+0 for each time an ally takes damage. This is a revert to how it was at the start of Duelyst 2, and Twin Fang was really good. The original pressure that got it nerfed is no longer here. The Elucidator change, spoilers, is getting reverted. So it's no longer threatening 15 damage out of hand on 5 mana, only 13. But this makes Go Wide Magmar a lot better, because Twin Fang gets an enormous amount of attack very, very quickly. So even going with 2 minions in play, going Flash Elucidator Twin Fang is going to kill people. It's just an enormous amount of power. I think this is good. I like Magmar having slightly more proactive stuff to do, so you can play things that aren't the sort of annoying control decks. And I think this is a good change in general. It makes Infinifang, the Keeper of the Veil Infinite, worse, but that's, a relatively small price to pay. I think Twin Fang change makes it way better, but I think that's pretty cool. So, yeah. But it's really strong. So maybe it's too strong, in which case I look like an idiot. We'll see. Elucidator, reverted. Now, instead of when it takes damage, deal 2 damage to your general, it's opening gambit, deal 4 damage to your general. Still a 4 mana, 5/4 rush. So, this is generally roughly even. Sometimes you'll take 6 damage off an Elucidator if you're playing it into a bunch of 1/1s. Sometimes you'll take 2 damage from an Elucidator because you would go face with it and then it would get silenced somehow. Dispelled. Or die to a removal spell. And sometimes that was better because it would trade into something with 4 attack and you'd only take 2. So sort of flattening the curve for Elucidator and also solving the Twin Fang problem. The reason for the Elucidator change, when they made it to the takes 2 damage thing, was a respectfully comical attempt to disincentivize the Trilucidator Fractal Replication combo. And now that amplification has been changed, I think it's fine to put it, well, it didn't do anything when they made the change, but also there's no risk of it being, problematic after this. Also makes it slightly worse with Twin Fang, because before, if you flashed an Elucidator, you could get 2 damage procs, each. You would flash your Elucidator, which would do 2 damage to you, so that's 2 different instances of damage. And you would go face with the Elucidator, which would do 2 damage to you, and that would be 4 instances of damage from the Elucidator. 2 for it taking damage, and 2 for you taking damage. But now it's only 3, still. I think this is a good change. Good stuff. Anachronize adds end your turn, which is kind of a brutal line of text for any spell. But I think this is good. Anachronize has, it's polarizing. No, that's not even true. Everyone hates it. And that's pretty fair. It's a really frustrating card to play against. And I think this is a good change because it's still good at one of the things Anachronize is good at, which is going, oh shit, I'm behind on board because I missed a turn 1 play, and I've just got to, reset the stuff and not die on 4 or 5 mana. Still good there. It is less good in the super duper late game in 9 mana when you can Anachronize to destroy your opponent's stuff and summon a guy. Now, if you summon the guy, it'll blow up in your own Anachronize. It can only ever be used to sort of roughly get back to parity, unless you're playing proactive things and your opponent isn't killing them, which is, I think, a really cool feature of Magmar. I like that idea that, hey, you want to get a hit on board? You want to use removal? You got to be a hit on board. That's cool. You've got stuff like Metamorphosis, which is better if you are ahead. Metamorphosis is also controversial, but it's nice that there's some sort of identity where Magmar's removal spells get much better as snowballs. Snowballing is dumb and bullshit, and I think Metamorphosis could use a tap because of it. but at least there's something going on there, and Anachronize is not going to be completely fucking ridiculous in the super late game anymore. It'll still do what it does early, but it will be slightly less horrifying to play against a Magmar on 8 or 9 mana, which is cool. Fenrir Warmaster! Oh boy! So, Fenrir Warmaster has undergone several changes. So, before this patch, it was a 3 mana 3/2 with Dying Wish summon a 3/4 Ghost Wolf. And now it is becoming a 3 mana 3/3 Dying Wish summon a 3/3 Ghost Wolf. And that's its original change. So the Fenrir map goes, it became a 3/3. So it started off as a 3/3, sorry, and then it became a 3/4 that summoned a 3/2 when it died, and then they swapped the order, and then they're putting it back to where it started. And I think this change is bad. I think Fenrir is a silly card, because it is not massively interesting. It's like a really sticky vanilla minion, effectively. And it goes in all the Vanar decks, because it is board in a can, and Vanar loves board. And Fenrir went in all Vanar decks when it was a 3/4 that summoned a 3/2. I still think it went in all the Vanar decks when it was a 3/2 that summoned a 3/4, although some people disagreed with me on that, and I'm willing to believe them. They're strong players. But it definitely goes in all Vanar decks when it is a 3 mana 3/3 that summons a 3/3 when it dies. So I think taking some power out of it was good, because it meant that you could put power in other parts of Vanar that were more interesting, more cool, rather than just, this is a big guy. And I think it's sad that they've sort of pushed it back, because now we'll once again be in the sort of era where when you play the Vanar mirror, it's you get to find out who drew more Fenrirs. And that way you can calculate the win rate. So, yeah, I think this is a bad change. Not awful, just like, why? What's the point? You know? That's really all I have to say. Disappointing. Good skins for Fenrir, so it's nice that it's at least, like, playable. But I think, yeah, I just think it was fine already. And it was definitely fine the already before this already. Like, when it was a 3/4 that made a 3/2, that was fine. So I don't know why you're buffing it. And sorry, I should actually explain. This is a buff, even though the stats are sort of roughly the same, because 2 attack is not a lot of health. And sorry, 2 health is not a lot of health in Duelyst, because generals have 2 attack. So a 3/2 dies to a general hit, a 3/3 doesn't. So Fenrir Warmaster now produces 2 bodies that don't die to general hits, making it exceptionally tough. Yeah, so Vanar players will win more, because Fenrir is better. And maybe someday we could have Vanar players win more for reasons that weren't Fenrir is better. So, yeah. Archon Spellbinder, the last change of a patch. Formerly an 8/7. Now a 6/9. So Archon started Duelyst as a 7/9. And then a 6/9. Then it became an 8/8, I think? No. It had a brief holiday where it was a 5 mana 6/6 that made both spells cost more, like both players' spells. I mean, it went back to 8/8, and then down to 8/7, and now up to 6/9. This is a better stat line than 8/7. 9 health is a lot more than 7. It's slightly less good at killing. It doesn't trade with itself efficiently anymore, like at all. One Archon punching another still leaves 3 health behind. I think Archon will still be quite good. Probably better than it was before. And I don't know, that's pretty cool. I'm like somewhat a fan of Archon. It's also got the exact same stat line as Dizark, which means we are going to find out once and for all whether drawing a card at the end of your turn is better than your opponent's spells costing 1 more to play. I have had many opinions about this throughout the time since Dizark has been printed, and I would admit that I have been mostly wrong about them. I think, having played more with Archon, the tax is really good. So Dizark maybe sneaks into some weird decks, which is just using it to refill, but Archon basically always should be your first port of call. And maybe that means that Dizark stats will get changed, so that it's slightly more palatable, or maybe Dizark will just keep rotting away in the sort of little corner that's been carved for it. We'll see. So that's the end of the patch notes. I understand some of my comments might have been negative, because they were. But overall, I'm looking forward to the Amazing Race. I think that the deck size change is good, and I mean, I'm going to try all these new cards. Maybe they don't. Maybe Duelyst is fantastic because of these changes specifically, even ones I don't like. I'll reserve judgment until then. But until then, thanks everyone for watching. Should I say like and subscribe as a real content creator? I guess I should. So do that. And yeah, see you guys next time I stream or next time I make a video. I'm always active in the Discord if people have any questions. Yeah, thanks for watching.